I'll make a motion to adjust the date of the agenda to read February 22nd, 2024. And to amend the line item under voting items, to 99 to scratch that from the agenda.
Any decision? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? No opposition. And it's passed. The next, we'll do the approval for the minutes for February 22nd, 2024.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay. All right, all those in favor of approving the agenda as amended? Aye. All those opposed? And it passes.
Remember, if you guys could, please speak up for those that are on Zoom. I mean, the snowball mic is here, but like, try and project in that general way.
Are there?
Yeah, Jennifer's on there.
Oh, yeah. We need to.
We don't have minutes.
The minutes that you're looking for, here's the February 22nd, and then I think, where'd the March minutes go? I had the February ones here, were the March ones with it? I'm like, I don't know where they went. We had them here, they were printed, but now just the February got stuff. So we just need to print out another, wait, Tony, can I see the you have mine? You have mine? Oh, that's, yeah. So we need to print mine? I just need to print more for you guys.
Anybody else need a copy?
They're two separate minutes.
So there's been a motion to table. Oh, okay.
I just wasn't sure. We didn't.
We do.
All right. So we can have a motion to approve the minutes for March.
I motion to.
For a second. Oh. You want to see them?
Ooh.
All right, we have a second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? No opposition, that passes. And why don't we do a quick roll, just roll call.
Second year,
This is this year.
third year.
Any of the other here?
Jan, welcome here online.
All right.
I want to make a motion.
Oh, Right, all those in favor? Aye, all those opposed? No opposition, it passes. Approved. And then I think we can go on to librarian report.
I just called it up. Okay. So librarian report, we got some good news for March. Our patron statistics were up. We're pretty close to 2019 numbers with the number of patrons that were walking in and out of our doors. So that was really good, means our foot traffic heavily increased for March. We also had an increase in computer usage and other essential services. Circulation is about the same. We're still kind of trending, same number of books in-house or going in and out. Same thing with that continued upticking trend on the digital circulations are going in and out. I know that I said last time we would have Hoopla circulation trends on here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get those trends into this report. I was able to get the reports and generate them. It's just a little tricky kind of reading them right now. So give me a little time on that. I'm hopeful for next month. The Seed Library is open. We'll be hosting a movie in a couple of coming weeks. The Carbon Cowboys, that's a documentary about regenerative agriculture and rotational grazing. What we're waiting on in this particular piece is that the directors of the film are either going to be sending some people for the Q&A portion, or they're going to be sending questions for us to then get some community moderators to then engage in the community with the dialogue on this particular film. So we'll see how that sort of shakes out. As far as the collection and development goes, May is Asian American Pacific Islander Month, so we'll be highlighting those works. Programming, we'll be hosting a talk with Sherry Burr from New Mexico Humanities Council. Oh, Sherry Burr was supposed to be in April. Unfortunately, Ms. Burr could not attend, so we're working on rescheduling for sometime in June. That was a talk about African Americans, free African Americans in Virginia, and then how they became enslaved. And that whole concept. We will be hosting this month Diana Molina. Her work is about New Mexico borderlands and the current border situation and how it affects New Mexico, how it affects people of color, and particularly communities that have split families here and down south of the border, and being cut off, like especially this time of year when there's like this generational migration of seeds that happen, and back to the seed library, you know, the seeds walk, they need to walk from one place to the other via humans and other places for seeds to grow and for our ancestors, you know, our biodiversity to continue. So that's being cut off. And so that's kind of what the film is about, is like those borders being cut off. So that'll be a 2-hour presentation. No teen programming at this time. I would really like you guys to pay some special attention to the play group. This was written by Jenny. So this is the human who has really taken on our early literacy program and made it a play group, a really generalized family oriented group, specifically geared towards littles on Wednesday, and then on Sundays, littles and their families. So trying to encompass the whole family, trying to think more about community on Sundays, knowing that aunts, uncles are all part of that generational model work. And she has created an incredible list of community partners that she's been collaborating with that bring a really diverse perspective and really different programming to that Sunday programming. And so on Wednesdays, their programming is starting to increase. And it's at the point where we're really kind of looking for potentially adding an assistant to that. Because there's participation that's getting regularly a little too high for Jenny to feel like she's managing it and being able to conduct. So if you as board members have some time to volunteer, Wednesdays from 10 to 11:30, that would be great in the meantime for us to be able to build, kind of work up, what we would need out of an assistant and what she would need and kind of how to get something a little bit more involved on that. And then on the Sunday programming,
Maggie said.
let me just finish this off and then I could totally answer all questions. On the Sunday programming, there is such large family members that are coming to that it's becoming like a whole family collaborative. So there's less need for that assistance because it's becoming sort of community collaboration. And so that there's kind of like this distinct programming difference between the two. Where we definitely on Wednesdays are gonna need more support. And I think that's just working families too, that we just don't have all the extra support on Wednesdays. Maggie,
My question is, there are families over there during the week, The families help out, they're there. This isn't just kids, so.
on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, she
But
has,
that's not enough to actually,
But their age group is,
their age group is very young. We're looking, they're geared and usually it's like one parent, maybe a grandparent.
Yeah.
And they're not as mobile sometimes to be able to be as assisting as one would help.
And some parents do come with 2 or 3 kids. That's the other.
Also,
yeah.
part of the project, which I really appreciate, is an intergenerational model where there's programming actually also inclusive for the parents and the families. So what we don't want to do is the parents bring their child to a program and then have to babysit their own children in the program. We want them to engage in collective building process with the children also. So having that additional support would allow the parents to not have to have a second eye on their own kids. They can fully immerse themselves in engaging with those.
one thing I don't see is statistics. I don't see statistics on how many, we've got statistics about other things, books out, all this stuff, but we don't have statistic numbers on the kids that are in.
You're 100% correct, but we do have those numbers. So what
Okay.
hasn't happened with those numbers?
I think it's really.
We sure, absolutely can. We just didn't get it into this report. We just finally got our volunteers to start inputting this information for us. So we're gonna be able to pull that information now. So, yeah, and we mark it down. So it's already collected. The data's there. So it's just gonna be on here. We could add it on here quite easily.
And what about the, what are those things? Are they incorporating books and stuff?
At
the use of library
every-
materials?
At every program.
Okay, so they're always like reading, sharing. Okay.
There's many forms of literacy that are being undertaken, but yes, there's
I'm
always
talking about
something.
using,
There's
using
always
these
materials from this library being utilized, yes.
encouraging people to come back and kids to come back and, not kids obviously by themselves at that age, but hopefully the idea with that is to really sort of introduce and encourage people to use the resources that are here,
Correct.
and especially what's available.
And they are.
Classroom and stuff.
Yeah, and they are.
Yeah.
So a lot of parents, at the time, kids are busy with playgroup and stuff too. That gives the parents an opportunity to be able to walk with one of their children while the other kids are in the playgroup, to go to the children's room and actually pick out books, with their child. So it's really exciting when all these children are coming up on Wednesday and they're all excited to pick
Exactly,
out their
it just
books.
isn't reflected. here,
Yes,
so
but
I
it
had
is
no idea
going on.
what's happening.
Yes.
Curious. So, thank you.
Yes.
That's good.
Okay, and then so in terms of the children and youth programming, there is a special call out to people within this community that have a child in this community to participate on Monday, May 6th at their first children's programming committee. So again, if you have a child that is in this community, we are highly encouraging you to participate this Monday at 4:00, or Monday, May 6th at 4:00 in the programming committee. This committee is wanting to develop the library programming for youth and kids from here on out. So we really are trying, and if you know anyone who has a kid and lives in this community or one of our service communities, get them here. Parents, we need parents here. aunts, uncles of parents that the kids need to live in this community. And then if you have any suggestions or anything else, please reach out to Jenny. And she'll be present for next month's board meeting. She had a family situation that they had to leave on, so she wasn't able to attend. So I wanted to spend some extra time on that. Any other questions from board regarding librarian report? Jenny, she's the one.
Okay.
All right.
We, Las Luna.
Okay.
So, La Segunda, in the month of March, our gross income was $4,129.95, which included a $500 donation that was directly donated to the store. Our net income for that month was $2,829.31. So our earnings at the store have increased slightly. Volunteers currently have 12 volunteers and 5 substitute volunteers. I did lose one volunteer that comes in and helps with cardboard breakdown and cardboard delivery. So if anybody's interested in helping us with cardboard, come and talk to me at the library. I would greatly appreciate it. We did gain one volunteer that will be helping us with CAB drop-offs in Taos on Thursdays. We also have continued to provide more support to DAPS. We were able to provide donations to them 2 times this month. Donations continue to be delivered to all the entities that we deliver to on a monthly basis. At this time, we did receive a handful of very valuable, authentic Navajo Native American jewelry that was priced and listed on our website. So if anybody has an opportunity and would like to look at it, please feel welcome. It is on our EmbrudoValleyLibrary.org website. So please check it out. We did have a free event at La Segunda 2 weeks ago, where we set up 3 tables and we were able to give away lots of good used clothing to the community, as well as other items from the store. And we did go ahead and provide flyers to the people at the food bank line. So we had a lot of people from the community come in and be able to utilize that. We also continue to provide donations to the spot office. We actually had 2 young teenagers that were in need of clothing. We were able to go ahead and provide that clothing to them and also offer gift certificates to them in order for them to be able to come in and choose what it was that they needed. Right now, sales are improving as the weather is warming up. So our issues at the store still continue to be, we have 1 open shift. Volunteers have been covering as needed, so we have been open. We are still receiving a large amount of donations that are not being able to be sold or utilized. Storage, of course, will always continue to be an issue that we have. And we also need help breaking down the cardboard boxes. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. To the ED report. Okay. The library has continued to work on adding in new and diverse books to our collection. We continue ordering more books and of course talking to our patrons and finding out what it is that they want to see within their library. In March, we were able to buy new equipment for the Wednesday play group. That was already purchased and put together and is being utilized. Grandparents, parents are reporting that they are very happy with the equipment that was purchased, and they feel that it's very beneficial to the kids that are attending. The new equipment helps to stimulate development. It helps build gross and fine motor skills along with core strength. So there is a lot of benefit to this new equipment that was purchased. We don't talk a lot about ILL library loans, but that is one of the services that we offer within the library. It has continued to increase in the amount of books that we actually get into our library that patrons within our community utilize. So right now we are going to be training our volunteers to be able to start processing these requests and returns, and that will help us as the co-directors to be able to use our time for other things. The community center has continued to be utilized at least up to 2 times a week right now. And that is by ASECIA meetings, art tour coordinator, just different things going on. The grounds, our trees have been pruned for the year. We have continued to monitor and ensure that all trees are healthy. Flower beds are being cleaned out, weeds thinned out. Irrigation will start soon. We did get some news today that there might be some issues with the ASECIA at this current time. So it looks like we might not be getting irrigation water till the end of May. And we are also continuing to work on trying to get access from the ASECIA to the front of the building to be able to utilize the water from the ASECIA system to go ahead and water our gardens. Insurance, we just went ahead and updated our USAL insurance. Shirley Norton and the board are working together on a few dates currently in order to meet to discuss our current insurances and what liabilities we have and what liabilities we don't. Financial updates, we have not received anything from any of the CPAs. We have not received any of the RFP back. So as soon, tax season just, is underway, it's finishing up. So as soon as, it slows down a little bit, we're gonna start working and start sending out more letters, looking out for more CPAs in order to get this audit that everybody has requested done. We also did receive a ADA and neurodivergent disability grant for $10,000, and we will be holding our first community discussion in late May. We will be asking specifically that board members identify community members that have physical and developmental disabilities to ask how the library can better serve them and ask for help to redesign the library to fit their needs. We are also in need of forming a fundraising committee. So if anybody's interested, let us know. Right now, the electrical, we had a new fire alarm system put in and a surge protector. We had already had a new fire alarm system installed. Unfortunately, at some point, there was a surge in the system that caused it to fry the new panel. So we had to have a new one replaced. So hopefully this surge protector will help with that. And that way that doesn't cause that issue again. The breaker switch needs to be removed and replaced with a new one to help the tripping breaker situation being experienced by the library. We're waiting on Brian to come in and do that for us. Plumbing, we're still waiting on estimates for repair work. And we are currently in conversation with an adjuster at this time through our insurance to gather information to see if we can utilize some of that coverage in order to update and fix the issue with the plumbing. Co-op construction, I did get an update from Clark. So new coolers were installed in the co-op. Electric work has already been done and they are functioning properly. Mini splits were also installed for heating and cooling purposes of the co-op. Groundbreaking construction is projected to start on May 15th. Right now, the co-op is currently working with Thomas Electric to get the pole in order to get a transformer put in. As far as our website goes, Jeff Spicer has been continuing to update the website and coaching us directors on how to edit the website. So that way we can put in all the added material so everyone has access to it. KLDK continues to do well with its broadcasting, and they have gained one new.
Ooh.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
What's the status of volunteers? Like how many people are at the front desk?
Currently, we have 5 volunteers and we have 2 people that, actually 3 people that have recently come in and wanted to volunteer for the library. So we're working
So you're
on the
saying you have 3
schedule,
people that just
just,
raise their.
just recently.
Recently,
came in.
yeah.
Mhm.
And is there a standard like period of time that they volunteer, or how is it managed?
Generally, they go from 2 to 2.5 hours.
Okay, so you don't want people to, don't want people to be here long if they want to be there?
We work with their schedule also, you know, what time they're able to be here as well.
I didn't know if this limit was put on by the library.
So the volunteers that are currently here were already in place before. So I'm not sure that if there is an actual time limit, but I don't think so. Yeah.
It's a self-imposed thing, you know?
So reminding us.
I have a question unless you're still
Oh, we're in
talking.
the middle of something, sorry, Jennifer.
And the contractor, we work with, we had a meeting with him yesterday, we're probably not gonna finish until the middle of the meeting. So, just to know, there's no, safety our contractors, are very limited support. This contractor is out of.
Okay.
And we decided that we're gonna actually clean it up, so we finish cleaning it tomorrow on Saturday, and we're just gonna bring the water down despite the rain. And then when we get into the river, they're gonna shut us down.
Oh, nice.
So at least we get irrigated for the next 2 weeks. And there'll be probably a 10 to 15 day stoppage of the flow. So that's the thing on that. On the other one, I guess you know that I'd be happy to volunteer to do the traffic work for the next 8 years. and install the regulations.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Just.
Okay.
As much as I can. I can only.
Yes,
Yep, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
and I see that all.
I'm gonna add, no, Jennifer, sorry.
Oh, just a quick comment about the ADA grant. That's very good news. And I just wanted to know, is there a time frame that we have to use the money in? And then are there any specific outlays as far as like and or can't do? I mean, I'd hate to go to a community member and say, hey, look, what do you need? And then is there any restrictions in the grant that we have to be aware of or anything there?
We have to hold community meetings. That is a restriction of this grant because because this is through the American Library Association and they have adopted DEI. We are required to hold community conversations and those have to be well documented. 3 as a matter of fact. So we have to hold 2 planning and then 1 before implementation. So the 2 planning are bring any and all ideas because we don't care, right? Any and all ideas are accepted and are needed to be able to make the space more accessible for both physical and mentally different humans. And so we want to be able to ensure that we have enough community conversation before we implement and that we have consent before we implement. So we're looking for 2 community conversations before we implement and then showing them the actual implementation process, waiting for that consent and approval. If they don't consent and approve, then we have an obligation to go back and hold 2 more meetings. And with this all has to get done within a year. The nice thing is that ALA is pretty understanding about that time frame because they know community should drive the conversation. Part of like this whole process is hosting these continual webinars with ALA. So I get to sit in on a webinar every Tuesday and listen to other libraries that are implementing the same process and how are they doing and how many community conversations have they had before they've even been able to implement. These are years past and like ideas going forward. Things that I've learned is like, it can be upwards of 6 or 7 meetings before you even have an implementation meeting. So we're ready for it, I think, I hope. But no limitations. But I was gonna circle to something that is the co-op construction. Because we have this really interesting dilemma that we might be in, or that we're sort of in, I think we're gonna be in. The co-op is supposed to be breaking grounds on May 15th, but we have no idea how long construction is intended to take. And we know that during that time, the community center is gonna be out, right? We're not gonna be able to let anyone go back into the community center because there's trenches, equipment, this whole area will be blocked off. We have the art tour that has requested that space for the art tour weekend. But the board had a question about holding that space itself for the art tour weekend, if the board wanted to do a fundraiser out of that. So I think the question for the board is, do you want the community center as a fundraising space to utilize as for the Dixon Art Tour, if it's available? And that's if it's available.
Library makes most sense. And let's use the library.
So the idea was, just for the fundraising part, to get all of the local artists, go around and see if people are donating the work of art to be auctions. So, the person's going to the library. So, the art show for the library, that's all the donations by the artists. That was the idea.
Okay, so that could.
I think it could, but you have to build some infrastructure to do it. You have to have something to influence on it. Expectations that. Was that house was that anything.
Well, I mean, I think we should look into it because it to me seems. What are they, what do they usually do in the communities?
What they did last year in the community center was their pre-show art exhibit and the dinner on Friday.
And that takes up.
It's the whole, they take up Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
I don't know, I love to see.
Last year
kids'
was the
library
first year that they
contact,
use
okay,
it.
We can do it. And
Last year was the first year that they did it.
yeah, I remember. Yeah, I mean, I just think it'd be wonderful if we could do it. And the way to do it. If it's going to be, something that benefits the library.
No, you have to have the community centers, not these buildings.
And there are people.
Again, a reminder for the people on Zoom to try and speak up as much as possible. It's really hard to hear.
I was gonna say, there are people that have, I forget what they're called, but like these movable stands where you can actually hang.
The easels.
Yeah, well, it's more than names.
Yeah, I don't think.
But yeah, if we commit to the art tour, I don't know that. Well, I don't know what we would do if we were like, oh, but now we're in the library. Like, I think we would really,
With the library, and if it's a library fundraiser, it just seems like a really.
well, last year, this was not a library fundraiser, let's be clear. Yeah. When they used it last year, we didn't let them put any holes in, so we had them do the 3M sticky tapes that could be removed. Because it was a new space.
No,
We don't charge anything for that space, do we? Ever?
We
I
do.
mean, unless maybe it's a private party or, I don't know.
it's generally more private that we charge for private
Yeah.
parties.
Yeah.
Yes, not.
Well, that's a good increase.
Mhm.
Well, I think we have a policy and I don't know, we'd have to pull it up, but.
And then we're currently gonna update it.
Right.
Different than like a executive meeting, executive community meeting, but these are artists.
We are- it's-
First, it's the.
Yeah, it's okay.
The community's also been in pretty much for the traffic and you look at the impact on most of the last year. In terms of the revenue during the art, tour, it's not just. That fines.
Yeah, I do have to agree with Maggie on that because we doubled our revenue last year.
In a month. But what does that do for, it's not really a sustaining thing.
No.
That's a 1-year boost,
1 year
right?
Yes.
So really try and think about loud, guys, or we're gonna have to start passing this mic around. Sorry.
Long term,
Our-
right.
Is the art tour dependent on?
No,
Except that historically, that event has been. In library property.
Well, just once.
once,
Just
We're not
once.
discussing-
just once.
Just
In,
No,
not in the
but this
community
is the-
center previously?
No.
No,
I remember going to it years ago, but
no, this
maybe I
was,
was drinking.
Yeah, no.
they've held it in people's houses in the years past. This was the first time they didn't hold it in someone's home. At least that was my understanding from Jennifer.
No, like I said, I mean, I think the benefit, it spreads. It's not just these people's back pockets and, you know. So I hope that we work together as much as we can and not be.
Well, I think the hard thing right now is that it's hard. We can't actually give them a decision or make a commitment with them because we don't know what's gonna be going on with the co-op as well. If there's still construction going on and it's active, then the community
Yeah,
center
the
can
rest
be
of it.
used.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
Section of the matter of burn, that's discussion.
Mhm. Yes,
right.
The matter of discussion is whether or not we want to give them the answer knowing that the co-op is gonna be like there. Or if
exactly.
we wanna just say, look, co-op's gonna be going through the construction, we can't participate in that, or we have to switch.
All right, and Nancy on here said it's gonna take 6 months for co-op construction, so that puts it into November. So let's just,
So
I
you're
mean,
saying the community center is gonna be out of commission for 6 months?
and
So we
from
have
the,
Inspection.
we're gonna have construction in this
Yeah,
back
no, I'm
area.
asking. So, I mean,
Yeah,
Is there a yes or no question?
yes.
Okay,
Yes,
all right,
yes.
And that's one of the insurance like that.
yeah, but you know, I mean, that's pretty black and white, if there's no community center for 6 months. probably maybe.
Yeah, we're,
Yes,
yeah,
that's where we're
so
at.
that,
So it's
that,
nothing
that,
we can do.
that, yeah, 6 months, that puts it,
Yeah, that puts it-
Thank you.
that puts it out. Yeah, that
Thank
was
you,
great.
Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy. Handled.
So I have a question. The co-op groundbreaking, what was the hold up on their starting? Did they get the permits and insurance for the project in place?
We still don't have copies of permits or insurance, right?
No.
No.
So what
So-
insurance, our insurance brokers say about what we need to have in the co-op?
We need to have the copies of their permits and their insurance, and then their insurance has to indemnify us. As being, somebody that we're a third party, they can't sue us if anything goes wrong, because we're the property owner. It indemnifies us against the liability.
And so we don't know if they
We do because Shirley insures them as well, so we know that they have it, but she can't provide it to us. So this has to be provided from the co-op.
So I did have a conversation with Clark yesterday and he said that he would be working with Nancy to get us that paper.
Okay, so you like the contact. The copies of the permit and the insurance,
Yes,
and then we can go to insurance.
And then we'll be, yeah,
I will follow up with Clark next week if I haven't received.
And that was the benefit of having Shirley, right? Like covering both properties. Had this not been Shirley, we would still be sort of in the dark, but she really, really did a good job and was like, no, they're covered. And I made sure that it covered you properly. So she did a good job of making sure that the library was covered.
Going back to maybe best that would just, transferring just out to the committee, let them know the situation, and then also share with them, what, how can we support?
Okay.
How can we support, what can we do to help make it work, if there is a way that we can help us with it. You know, it's, just communicated.
For sure.
Playing games.
Here at the library.
Wherever, and then the situation. Navigate with them about what their decision is.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing in Zoom. You can't hear, but you pass that mic to the speaker. So very often.
Yeah.
We just got it right here.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. So, and speaking of insurance, I know that Rosalia had sent out an email or two about scheduling with Shirley. Is it possible maybe to just get a couple of times, like an evening time and a daytime or something, and just tell the board, come to one of these? Or what are you thinking for that?
So what I was gonna do, Shirley, so we have Shirley's schedule and we can click on it at any time and just see what's available and what's not. So what I was gonna do is schedule a very late, oh, right. All right, so in terms of the insurance, I was gonna take Shirley's schedule and just take a couple of dates that are times and dates that are available, because it does seem like most everyone's available on the Thursday or Friday if we can do it later or earlier. So I'm just going to pick some dates and say here and here and hope that we get some board members to sign up for it. It'll fit some timeframes, and then I'm going to reach out to Shirley and look for some off hours, because she said that she would do maybe a Saturday because she lives close. So I'll see if maybe her next couple will be like a Saturday or something else. But for May, it's going to be hopefully like a early morning and a late evening.
Okay. And this is gonna be what, a comprehensive review of the insurance?
This is like an insurance 101, and really just talking about all the things that are needed and have been needed to be done and updated to the grounds to be able to reduce the liability risk of the library. And the question was, what is this? And it's an insurance 101 for the board. Back to pass.
Thank
Then
you.
letting somebody.
Wait, you gotta see a little bit louder?
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the next question I have is planning for the audit, now that tax season is over and our fiscal year will come to an end, end of June. I'm thinking as a goal, like if the audit is starting by the middle of July, that we could work back to the steps that we need to make that happen. So, that would mean that in May's board meeting, end of May, we have RFP responses to the RFP. So that in June, the board could approve a contract with whoever we've selected and sign the contract and start. So, how can the board support you all with, getting RFPs for the audit?
I mean, I would just take and revise the last RFP that I sent out for a new set of dates. That's really all I would do. Unless like we want to, no, and we're requesting an audit. Everything remains the same other than the dates. A list of auditors, other than the ones that we've already sent to, we sent to 12. We only have another list of 4 to circle back to, and that's including from the New Mexico State Attorney General's website. Like, we don't have a whole lot of options when it comes to auditors that do nonprofit audits. So, it also could be something that the board does, some investigation to find out what other, could we do a review? Can we do something else other than an audit? Back to the board.
I just don't know why. It seems like a normal thing. I don't know why it would be so hard to get an auditor.
Agreed. I'm hoping that it was just tax season, but I don't know. We'll give it another go.
Just a suggestion on the mic issue, considering that, you know, even though we got a bunch of COVID money, no one ever put together a healthy Zoom experience for our community members that weren't able to show up in person. Maybe we just sit around one table, we put in the middle and we
Yeah.
meet looking at each other. And then, you know, the community can bear witness outside of that circle, and that'll keep the mic right in the middle. And yeah, maybe also too, putting a call out to the community, asking for donations specifically for engagement. And if it's too complicated, maybe we just don't do Zoom until we arrive at that technological capacity and we ask our community to show up in person, which would be really good if we had more in-person collaboration.
Well, how about we reconfigure right now so we could all be closer to the mic? So that-
Good idea.
We're probably fine. Yeah.
Just mine?
You said musical chairs here.
I bet you could hear the chairs.
All right, so far that worked. They were able to hear everything.
This feels much better.
Okay, where's my paper
Did
stuff?
we move on to finances?
Not yet.
We're still
So. Could have a plan, right? If you send out the RFPs to the, I think there's 8 that I emailed you all. If you don't hear back, what can be the next step?
I think it's gonna be 8 and then the additional like 4 that we got. So we're gonna end up sending out an addition, resending out or send out 12 this go round.
So I have.
Is there a follow-up call to the agencies where you call them up and say, hey?
We
I
call
sent
them
you a letter?
first
Oh, you send
and
them.
then we send the paper.
Okay,
So we called left voicemails. We didn't email it, which we could do that. We could hit up their contact page as well.
okay.
That. People interested, they don't turn
No,
different ways, you know.
I mean, we just need to get it done. And so even if it's the thing where I have to go to the
And then
office,
start, okay.
I'll go down to an office and talk to somebody. It
Okay.
just has to be done.
And we want definitely to get an audit 'cause in terms of the grant, and I'm not talking about not getting an audit. Wait until I finish my thought. Because if they want specifically audits for grants, right?
Yeah.
For some grants.
For some
okay.
grants, yes, they would just require an audit. They would
Because
even look at your grant if you don't have.
we have an option, and I talked to Rosalie about this last week for a financial review, which is basically the same as an audit. It just has different legal definitions. And so they can't call it an audit, but it ends up being the same information, but it won't get us to where we get asked for the grants. It's often simpler to ask, like more companies do financial reviews when they do audit. And this is like information that I got from a guy who consults with international humanitarian nonprofits. And he's like, sometimes that's the method people go through. But I think it holds us up in terms of grants, so.
When we're looking at, a multiple layer, problem that we're trying to approach, and one of them is the community called for it when, back in October.
Absolutely.
The next is being transparent with the community. The third is, responsible fiscal sponsorship,
Yeah.
management. And then the fourth is, securing more grants in the future. So it has a lot of importance on it
Yeah.
from a lot of
I
different.
mean, the
things.
financial review would cover the first three.
Yeah.
It would not cover the fourth.
Right.
And so I'm wondering, since we're having such a struggle, if we stopgap measure with this as we're like, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there, this is spitballing. Like, you know, is this an option for us as a stopgap measure, not as the total measure? Cause I am surprised that we haven't gotten any response.
Well, we did receive 3 responses, but basically, we don't do.
We don't do them.
We don't do
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
So.
We just don't do them for nonprofits. That's the other thing, right? Like, we do audits, but
But
we
not
don't
for
audit
it's a very
nonprofits.
specific process.
It's
for
a
us.
specific process, yeah.
And these were the ones that Amanda had given us.
These are the ones from Santa Fe Community Foundation
Okay.
that they sent out as a
Okay.
resource for audits. And then they overlapped with the ones Amanda
Amanda,
had sent.
okay.
There's some
Okay.
of the same
we're just
ones.
in
So
the-
I know 501 CPA doesn't do audits unless you're like a client of theirs. So that takes them out, but like, yeah, it would. So when you called all of these, you got voicemail for all 8 of them?
It's like, most of them have like an answering service, you know, if you're calling for this, get over here, and then it's automated, it's like push 1, and then it dumps into somebody's voicemail.
Mm-hmm.
You don't ever get a human that answers the phone and it's like, hey, yes, this is what we do or not. It's like, generally, are you a nonprofit? Push 1, yep, and so you get into somebody's voicemail. What we can do is not send out any paper RFP until we've gotten a actual voice call back, because I didn't request a phone call back. I just said, hey, we're gonna send, you know, this is what we're looking for, and I'm gonna send you a paper follow-up. You'll look for it in the mail. If you have any questions, all of the information is on that paper. Let us know, which is our phone and our email to get back in touch with us. I'm gonna sidestep this question really quick and just kind of talk about talk about not getting an audit because of grants. There are a lot of grants that we can apply for if we have an audit. That being said, there are also a number of grants that are starting to, from what I'm starting to notice in this grant cycle, have their grants be a little less restrictive. So we're starting to see a potential shift in this system for grants, that they may no longer require an audit. I know that there is some serious foundation money that does require audits. But we might start seeing that they're not gonna require an audit and they might do a review. And we might be able to get away with that. And we can ask them, you know, would you accept a review instead of a full audit? And that could be something that we can ask funders, you know, I think that's a fair question. If it holds the same weight and does everything else, it might be something that we pose to these organizations this time that might make it more enticing, is we get a review. We're looking for both. Can you do this and either or sort of? That might be a way that we could go down this and get some clarification or start to get some transparency for the organization.
Yep, I totally agree with the review. I don't think a full-blown audit for this nonprofit, just in my past experience. Start with the review, and we didn't pose the question to the CPAs to do the review first. We just went audit first. Is that what you said, Rosalia?
Yeah, because that was the call from the community, was to have an
Right.
audit. If we can
Yeah.
talk to the community too and say, hey, a review is, you know, just as in
Yeah.
depth.
It's just not GAP principles, which is mostly public, but I mean, I think it's legitimate to start here and then see what other material modifications we need in our financial books, I think. And that would be a good education for us too. It's half the cost, but again, you want what Tony had said, ensuring that we're providing financial transparency to the community. So I understand, but I vote for review first, that mode first.
I feel like the spirit of the community asking was for the things that Tony was saying. How we go about doing that, as long as it's legitimate, you know, is.
Yeah, that tied with just getting us into a level of being able to request resources and other grants that require an audit. And again, why that hasn't been done in the past is beyond me. I just wanted to ask, if you have comments, we do have a public comment section. Try to avoid like the in talking because it's very distracting. We're trying to hold the board meeting here and I'm hearing your communication with Tommy and it would just be helpful. But we do have a whole section for you if you want to make comment to the board. Thank you.
We're good, or we're move on to financial?
Wait, so in this RFP, do we want to request the review
Yes.
and the audit? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what we get and then just get a quote for both.
Yeah,
Okay,
I would-
Fish.
Yeah.
Alright, let's-
Yeah. And so,
Like,
yeah,
actual transparency, however we can get it.
yeah, and if, I just want the minutes to reflect like the timeline of if there is board agreement about having the audit start mid-July, the timeline of by June, we're approving a contract and by May, we're looking at proposals.
May.
Does that sound okay?
Yes. Yes.
In June, sorry. say that again?
June, we're approving a contract.
Okay.
But that also puts a heavy burden on you guys' shoulders, that timeline that needs to be.
The RFP is just gonna be a really quick edit, like that shouldn't be
Okay.
that difficult for us to edit and then. We'll get it all.
Okay, great.
I should be able to.
I mean, I think it's hard to do strategic planning when we kind of are a little lost with what's happening.
Yeah.
with our finances.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, and I would say follow up with a phone call and, you know, to try to hear from someone.
That'll circle to fundraising then, because we don't need money.
Are we ready to go on to financials?
I think so.
All right.
I think that puts us there.
Speaking of money.
Speaking of money.
Okay, guys. So we want to report that right now expenses have been kept to a minimum. And we are currently maintaining all finances and library is stable. At this time, we do not have any narrative reports as requested by the board at our March board meeting. Our bookkeeper was unable to process this report at this time, as this was her first week of her new job description and her new job schedule did not allow the time to create these reports. These reports will be produced, these reports were produced by the co-directors at this time for this meeting. Written narratives will be provided by the bookkeeper by May 2nd and then will be provided to this board.
Good job.
How is
Thank
the transition to the online QuickBooks going?
Haven't started it yet.
Is there a new time frame for that?
We have until the end of May, so we wanted to get it done in the end of April. With the transition to the new job hours, we're gonna try and get it done at the end. Well, we have to get it done by the end of May,
Because that's when we're,
because that's when we have to renew.
so in the next board meeting, could you give us an update on how that's going?
Yes.
Committee reports. Does the bylaw committee have anything to report?
Yes, we've been moving along, making edits. Thank you to the new board member Maggie. Sylvia was on it, but I haven't really had any comments from her. And then the community member, Susan, has been instrumental in updating. We have a draft. We will be having a community meeting. Hard time is getting a schedule. My schedule, I'm so sorry. It's my fault. I own that. But we're looking at possibly community meeting. If not the following week, it'll have to be like on a Thursday or a Friday, maybe an early Saturday morning. But yeah, we've made some good headway. Board members, once we finalize it, we're gonna meet one more time. We'll send it to you, and if you could make any comments, that would be great. But at that point, we're ready for our community meeting coming up soon.
Very nice.
And I just say, I know the mention about the community meeting. I don't understand how this comes in. I mean, is every committee gonna stop at some point and there's gonna be a community meeting or, you know, because I don't understand how the flow goes.
Usually how the subcommittee or committee process and flow works is each committee meets and then they have a chairperson that does a report back in this meeting, which is the collective space of sharing that.
That's the way I understand nonprofit boards to work, but that's not what we're talking about. Right? We're talking about stopping and putting it out to
community
the
meeting?
community. Isn't it what she said? I mean, I thought you were talking about community meeting.
Each committee meeting is open
Is
to the
open to
community.
the community.
So for instance,
Well, the-
when we were doing the personnel committee, it was posted and it was open to the.
Yeah,
So you-
no,
you
well,
can
so it's
work on
not like a
things
separate
at home.
event. It's not like a separate event, correct?
No, it's just
Yeah,
personnel.
Yeah,
committee
okay, I'm
meeting.
sorry, I thought we were
That's open
trying to
to the community.
schedule a separate event, that's
No,
my
no, no,
confusion.
no.
So I assume the committee, the community knows we're meeting and, you
As
know.
long as you let,
There's no.
as long as
secret
you
about it.
let us know,
And then it gets posted.
we post it, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so
Yeah.
we're not trying to schedule a community meeting.
This
That was my
is the
misunderstanding, because,
community.
yeah, my understanding is the way a nonprofit board works is just, as you said, the committee does its work and then it brings its work when it feels like it's pretty much got it together to the board, and the board, we have, okay.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
this flow chart is not hackable.
It is,
It is.
it is.
So we're not gonna do the other, I mean, how does, this is totally different. This
So
is,
from my perspective, if I
Sure.
could just jump in for a second, is that okay?
Yes, go ahead.
Sure.
Can I see that photo?
Okay, thank you. So, I'm a recent new board member, not even 8 months. And, I spearheaded the bylaw committee with, two other people. And since then, it's become just me. So we didn't have like a quorum. So it's kind of been a work in progress. And then we had the new members come on board and then we have already petitioned the community already. We've just never posted it in the Budo Valley Library or the town crier just yet. So we have been out there in the trenches with the community, getting perspective. And now this is just another community meeting that we're going to have, ensuring that all of the communities involved in making public opinion. And then I'm feeling comfortable at this point now that I've got some other board members with me, to go ahead and present to the board a final. That was my, perhaps I misspoke when I said it, but that's what I would like to do. I'd really like to move on and petition it to the board and say, this is what we've got. This is what the
okay, so we're
to
gonna
the-
bring it forward. We're not gonna be trying to set up a community meeting. Did I
Yes,
understand?
no, we will still have the
No.
community meeting.
Still gonna have-
Gonna have a community meeting.
Yeah.
She's still gonna have a meeting. She's just holding a bylaws meeting, which is open to the public and the community.
Well, yeah, I mean,
And when she's done with all the bylaws and the bylaw committee is done. with
okay,
all
I'm
their
sorry.
edits,
I just don't know why we're throwing, if the community is always
Maybe Rosalia
invited,
should
then
finish with her explanation.
So then once she's finished with all the bylaw edits, and all the things that the bylaw committee wants to do, then all of those bylaws documents are gonna go to, I don't have this in front of me, can someone tell me?
Personnel.
So then she's gonna take all those documents and say, we're done. Bylaws committee's not looking at these anymore. Personnel, will you review these documents? Personnel committee's gonna then take a look at these documents and say, hey, we're gonna hold personnel committees to review the bylaws for personnel matters. And they're gonna review it in their committee meeting, and they'll go add edits. Those edits will then go to
Finance.
finance. Finance will look over that. We see how it goes until it ends up back at the.
Where did you
board.
get this? This is interminable. Because, and this is
So-
not really how nonprofits generally work. You
And
you
nonprofits
don't
often
send it to
leave
that
out a lot of
committee and-
voices.
I'm sorry?
That-
Nonprofits often leave out a lot of voices.
Well, the
And
voices
so
are
that-
here, they're sitting here. If we present our bylaws to you guys, your voice.
Right,
Other
and
members of the other committees that are not within this body, like, for example, other staff, other community members in general. I like this process, and what it also pushes each committee to do is actually to run an agenda and go through an approval process of sorts. Right now, and I mean, I don't even know if the committees have ever been operated within this organization in the past. But right now it's pretty loose. And I think once things get in its operating fashion, it'll actually be very easy. This is a way that makes it so simple for just a standard community member to engage in a committee meeting and actually be a part of the decision-making process. I know, Maggie, and there are a lot of people who think they have it all figured out and they think they know the best. But this is a way of doing things that really encourages engagement from people who are participating in a real way, not just in a observing.
So as I understood, the public is invited to the committee meetings.
They
correct?
are,
Yeah.
Okay, so they're invited.
right, but they
Correct.
They
also
might
are
not be able
invited
to
to
come to
participate.
all 6, whatever committee. So some don't have that interest. Some have maybe just come to the DEI meeting, and then they have a voice. Because they don't want to come to the bylaws committee.
Okay.
And I
So
know
it
it
doesn't
seems,
matter,
it seems
like,
burdensome, but
engagement-
when we've actually
engagement.
done it, it wasn't that bad because like I sit on 3 different committees, so the information came to me, I was able to look through it, the first time it came through. and
So
pass it on.
where's the final product?
Once it's gone through all of those committees.
Once all
Once,
committees.
once
all
every,
committees have
once
listed,
every person's have eyes on
Then
it.
we
Okay.
could have a very
Sure.
finalized product that comes to the board.
Okay, I
Revolution is interminable. Let it be noted.
Conclusion and-
I'm sorry, but I do see it as problematic. I do, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ross,
Yeah,
you're
the
up.
status quo
Yeah.
is not interminable.
I'm sorry?
The status quo is not interminable, except for the people that don't get to belong in that status quo. And to the people that get to belong in the status quo, the revolution is very interminable.
Yeah, it's disruptive to the process,
Yeah,
but you know,
that's
this
all.
also happens in government. Like if you've ever gone to the legislature, this is
Well,
how they
that's a
pass
different
laws.
kind of process. That's,
Community self-governance.
I don't
is
need to
community
argue it, guys.
self-governance.
I don't need to argue it. I told
I'm
you
not-
what I
I'm not trying to
feel.
argue it.
I really,
All right, well then let's.
it will,
let's-
it'll
let's-
happen. So,
Uh,
yeah, let's move on.
And our annual meeting will be in September, so that is our target, right, of having the bylaws ready that the board has an approved proposed bylaws that can go to the membership for them to
Final-
vote on.
final vote.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, so for the personnel committee, would you like to give a report on that?
yes. So Personnel Committee, Maggie, Tony, and I met on April 5th. We took our first look at the job description and dividing it into 2 different positions, like co-director A and co-director B or something, however we labeled it, to separate the responsibilities. And we'll be meeting again in May, probably close to the board meeting because Tony's schedule is pretty tight at the beginning of May.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
policy committee?
Okay, we met on April 23rd. which was this last Tuesday. We reviewed a few policies. We did receive some information that other policies had already been updated by the previous board, just were not able to be found. We are currently looking for these new policies, so we're not having to recreate, and so that's what we're working on. We do not have a policy meeting scheduled yet, but we will be scheduling one soon in May.
Financial committee or?
Finance committee. So we had a meeting on Monday and we're still, very informal. We went over the details of our financial situation and talked about different reports, what would be the best. Maggie was there, myself, Taya, Annette, and Judy. And Judy gave us a lot of really helpful information on what to include in the report so that it's relevant. And then we just had some conversations about maybe what we shouldn't include. It's all gonna boil down to rebuilding our budget and having a budget that is appropriately reflective of the information that we have. The previous budget and how it's presented is very confusing. And line items are put in areas that they shouldn't be. And I feel it's just inadequate in providing transparent financial information to the community. It actually feels like a lot of information here and there, and it's almost like it's designed to confuse, and we want to clear that up. So I can see in the future, the financial committee getting a good handle on providing clear, accurate, appropriate information that someone like my mom could understand just by looking at it and doesn't have to disregard it because they don't understand that type of language. So yeah, good meeting.
And then the DI committee?
Like, how did I get here? We met last Friday, ended up being pretty small. We had Casey and Jess and Rebecca, me, Rosalia, Leslie. Was that it? The kids, yeah.
All the children, Aaron.
Aaron?
My husband.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, we had Aaron there. It was great. No, anyway,
Was there anybody from like El Mayor Edad or elderly?
no,
We had pretty quiet, it really was.
yeah. Yeah,
But we talked a lot about sustaining fundraising.
yeah.
Oh, great.
I think, and just trying to create, yeah, kind of the vision. Like, we haven't really, and that, I think that's on the agenda here, or maybe it isn't. Like, we haven't really done a strategic plan, like, what does that look like? What does that mean? And like, how that all ties into, like, how we develop as a board and how we help our co-directors develop. So I think, Jess was suggesting that, maybe we do some more of that work, the kind of vision work.
Oh, that sounds great.
Yeah. And just also, I think, is that where we brought up fundraising in terms of looking, not really going to the people that have basically decided not to give us money?
Yeah,
Kind of talked about?
yeah, I did mention the idea of the board considering approaching people who did not donate this year, who have been past donors. And, someone talking to them and listening and saying, can you let me know, like, yeah, what concerns do you have with the library, or what is keeping you from donating, and would you like to donate? That was what I threw out there, and then we kind of talked about it a bit. So I don't know, I think that would be good for us now to talk about, is would we like to approach people who were past donors? Or focus on,
Building a stronger donor base.
Yeah, and people with potentially larger pockets who could donate larger amounts.
That we don't need to beg them for their money. They can donate if they want to support what we're doing.
It's not just what we're doing, it's the library as it's been and into the future. And so I think that's also a confusing thing for the community, is understanding that we're being stewards, and we were brought on. A lot of the board that's here was approached for diversity, for younger voices, for different voices. But the institution that's been here, that was started, is still a very cherished thing, and we're going to continue doing the work that that was. Yeah. So I don't think of it as as like a thing about begging people for money or not begging for money. I feel like it's a deeper issue, and the issue goes to why is it that some of the community feels disenfranchised at this point? And it's a different side of the community than before, but their feelings are really apparent in our budget. And so, I'd like to know why that was, and even if they don't donate, they're still part of the community, and they're still cherished people, with donations or not. But we have to find a way of keeping the library open and providing all of the programming and, teaching kids to read and love books.
And just to know, I wasn't a part of the group that was approached to bring diversity. I actually came on last minute whenever I joined this board. But yeah, I a little bit disagree in that trying to find out why they don't want to donate anymore is like beating a dead horse with the stick. They're not going to share their truth.
Told us on the internet.
They're not gonna be real, and we are trying to create open, transparent space so that they can come and voice their opinions. There are a lot of undertones, and I'm hearing it in the gossip within the community and the emails that have been sent to me anonymously of other community members saying other things about this board, that I think that trying to get it out of them would just go back to the creating unnecessary drama. I think we need to follow what other folks have been saying and leave all that stuff in the past and bring on this new paradigm, this new light, whether or not they want to support it. I think that as a community that has been here, we're going on our 300th year anniversary. And for some of us, our families have been here actually much longer than that. We've done it without their help, and we will continue to do it without their help. If they want to help, fantastic. If they don't, fantastic. We have a great platform, not only in our cultural capacities, our land base, our acequias, our heritage, being a part of the USA. All of those elements, I think, is enough of a platform for us to be able to create a very viable and healthy organization without that group's financial support. And that's Jose Luis's opinion. I always am trying to find people to try to support this organism. But I'm not going to continue to ask for people's help. I'm not going to continue to ask people to see me for my actions and not for their assumptions and those types of things. So I think we just charge forward and not waste any energy with any of that.
Okay.
I'm okay with what the body thinks and going along with that. That's just my thought.
And did we have another voice that wanted to give a different opinion?
I mean, I'm mostly in agreement with Jose Luis. I feel like there are other avenues for us. One of the things that came up, I have a friend that is part of the Pasitos Library Board, and they partnered with one of the casinos for some fundraising. I don't see why that wouldn't be an option for us to be talking to Picaris or Okewinge. I think there are, there's other, I have a contact with the Santa Fe Library Board member who's, willing to talk with me. I just feel like I think our fundraising is based on us having to constantly explain ourselves, like in this very particular way. I'm not into it. I'm just not into it. But, you know, it's just, that's just, oh.
Okay. And Jennifer, did you have anything? Jennifer, did you have anything to add?
Sure, fundraising is fundraising. We got to put ourselves out there. I mean, we have to sustain. It is a non. At the end of the day, I know that sounds simple, but and we have people that we have to pay. Yes, we have volunteers, but I, you know, I listen to NPR every day and I send my monthly check off because I love what they participate in and I love what they do. I mean, I have my certain organizations that I, just like what you're talking about, Jose Luis, you have a passion for it. There's a drive in your inner soul for it. So we have to find people that are willing to participate in that thinking. But if we're, maybe your strategic plan here needs to have that rolled into it. Our aspirations and development, maybe we need to have strategic funding enrolled into that proposal as well. I agree with all of you. It's hard. It's very difficult, but I think we're on the right path for it. And I think we do have to move forward. But I do like to reflect on the elders on the past and why did you do this? And I think it's a worthy question to ask. If you're uncomfortable asking it, perhaps maybe one of us, I can ask it and just get the feedback. I don't know. I don't want to close a door that potentially could be a reopened, reignited door. I guess that's all I feel for everyone. I feel both sides of the story. It's difficult.
Thank you, Jennifer. Maggie, did you have anything to add to the conversation?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah, like Jennifer said, it's difficult and I can see both sides. And I'm wondering if when we do have a strategic plan in place, that is the thing we point to, because there's a lot of speculation and assumptions about what's happening here, right? And I don't think like we as board members have ever really had the opportunity to say like, this is what I think inclusion looks like. And, for you, it looks like something else. So strategic planning gives us that chance to talk about that and then have something to point to donors and say like, this is what direction the library is going. Because right now it's more nebulous. Like we're building something. Well, what? Like, what are we building? There's no definition for it.
So the strategic plan is important.
That's what I'm thinking.
Oh, yeah. And it's due.
And it's new, right? So that's right, like it's new.
Are we done with committee reports? Does anybody else have anything to add?
That was
Questions?
PEI.
PEI fundraising, yep.
So that, yeah.
All right, so then we can move on to voting items and we're still going to be voting on the bookkeeper job description. Did everybody get a chance to review that?
Yes.
You're gonna put it up because I put 2 suggestions half an hour before the board meeting started.
I didn't read that.
That are in green. They're additions to 2 bullet points.
I have them up in purple. I hold it up. Yeah. No, you have
Where
that
is
one.
it?
I have this and
I got lost.
go back to the meeting. No, that's fine.
It looks like you need to pull it up still.
Yeah. Oh, there.
Thank you, Nick.
Sorry. I have it up.
So if you scroll to the top of page 2. Actually go a little bit up so it has the bottom of page 1. Okay, do you see that financial reporting? There's that bullet point that starts with assist. So I added to that. That's a suggestion of mine. So it's more specific.
Okay. And just replace.
Yes.
Okay.
That seems fine.
And then we scroll down a little bit for that next one, generate financial reports.
And is this another replace?
Yes,
Okay, great.
so just adding more specificity, like
I love it.
for program project financials or restricted and unrestricted grant financials. Yes.
Does anybody have talking points on this that they want to discuss through? Before we vote?
Seems like a very long list for, what is it?
A
5
job
hours
description?
every other Thursday? I don't know, to me, it looks pretty daunting.
And everybody, she hasn't, right now, this is just can we get it done in this amount of time? Let's see how it goes. There is every opportunity for exceeding this amount of time.
So
Like,
the-
I need another 4 hours. Okay, well, we'll add those hours in to be able to get everything that needs.
So this is just supposed to be like a baseline and
This is
with
a
the idea
baseline
that it could be added to as,
This
I
is
think
a
that-
needed.
baseline for us.
Yeah.
We want to know how we can best use the finances
Yeah.
and use our bookkeeper to the best of their ability.
So the
Yeah.
the
So this is-
duties that are outlined are there, and then the hours that it'll actually take to accomplish that are something that we're gonna have to work out through time.
Okay, so this is not, yeah, so this is all.
It's not constrained by just those hours. If it
Okay,
turns out that
right.
it's gonna take more time, then it'll obviously be
Absolutely.
reflected because
Yeah, I
um,
can't imagine. Okay,
I mean,
That's good.
most of these reports are generated.
but you
Most of
do,
these
but
reports
you
are
do have a map.
relatively Yes, and most
The data's in there.
and most of the data, entering the data is pretty quick. Most of this is not too time extensive. But there is others that will be very time extensive, and so we want to balance it out, right? And
Yeah.
So this is just like, let's get an average, let's see how it goes.
Fair.
We know how long it does, take this and this. Okay, we'll need to add, so and this also will hopefully help as the organization either grows or shrinks, right? That we know what's needed out of our financial bookkeeper always. If we grow as an organization, then we know, that time is gonna need to increase, and what is it gonna need to increase from? And we just don't have a whole lot of statistical information about absolutely where our beginnings are at.
It's not really our job to, write their job description, but so we're assuming that an individual's gonna live with this kind of flexibility, like I'll sit here and do a few hours, and then maybe there'll be more or whatever. I mean, because you're asking that essentially.
Right, and so essentially, yes, exactly.
There are no promises.
well, I think
This
it
is
is
your
the
job,
job
yes.
of the organization to do the job descriptions, like we were doing that for the directors.
Well, yeah, but that's generally where a board ends.
Yeah, so
We
this
don't-
is approval, this
It-
is not,
PDs really
Yeah,
work
this
on the
is
staff.
approval, this is not,
We don't
like, you
generally
guys don't
work on
get
the
to,
staff.
yeah.
yeah, the directors created
The
this.
directors created that.
But this is
Yes.
being transparent and like wanting as much community feedback as we can gather too, because we are in community with you guys as well.
Okay.
Do you guys?
Has there been any other questions?
These amendments.
Well,
Do we
wait,
feel like
do,
we're there?
is
Oh.
there any reason for us to be approving this? I mean,
I think it's appropriate for the board to approve a job description of the staff member. It's not appropriate for us to supervise the staff member besides the directors. That's how I see it.
We can decide as a board what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, leaving opinions and ideas out of the table. I think that it's part of what inclusion is. And I know that's a tough concept for some people to understand. But I think including the board in that process is good, especially if our directors are asking for that kind of support.
And I actually requested that we approve this. That
There
was,
you go.
That was your request.
mhm, yep.
so is this working out with our present bookkeeper? I wouldn't want to be stuck tomorrow with.
We've only been in our first week, so we have
So
not
we have
had
no
the
idea.
opportunity.
Yeah,
to know.
this is a pretty important job.
So
Very important.
I would make a motion that we approve the bookkeeper job description with the understanding that that you will keep us apprised of more hours that need to be added or changes to the job description, just so we're in the loop with it.
Is that a motion?
That is a motion.
I'll second your motion.
Okay, we've got a second.
You're just, would you make that again? Because I'm sorry.
Yeah, for Hillary.
There, I'm behind you, don't.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the bookkeeper job description with the understanding that the directors will keep us updated on any changes that need to be made to the hours. I mean, like if it moves by 1 hour, no, but if it's like substantial, please keep us in the loop. Okay, so motion, going back, keep us updated on the hours and changes, modifications to the job description. Does that work?
And in the spirit of sharing the responsibility collectively as a body, I second that.
All right,
And is this acceptable to our bookkeeper? I mean, is she on board with this?
she was given copies of it.
Okay, and she's agreed to this arrangement?
Yeah.
We don't know yet.
So in February, the ask was
I
for
just don't wanna have
the
no
directors
bookkeeper
to give
tomorrow.
the
That's
job
my only
description.
concern.
So in February, the ask was for the director to give the bookkeeper a job description. And so that was done a couple weeks ago. And so that's where this is going.
And that this was the job description.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's all,
So this is just
everything's.
being brought to the board, so we know.
And I just want to
Yeah.
be clear that job descriptions are risk management.
Or
So if we have job descriptions, that's risk management for the organization.
Oh, I'm not saying
Yeah,
you shouldn't. I
I'm
just
just
want
saying,
to
I don't want to be like really clear. that
everybody's.
Which is why we wrote the
That
job description,
everyone's
right?
on
There wasn't
board.
the job
Yeah,
description.
yeah,
Yeah.
So, and which will, when the maintenance
Yeah.
one comes out, we'll also.
Yeah, we have to
Uh,
not have, not have job descriptions.
No, I-
Not a thing.
So we've had a motion.
I totally
That's
agree. It's
second.
just that I don't want to, I
Yeah,
don't want,
no, I
I don't want that this is a surprise to our bookkeeper, you know what I mean? If you guys have been,
Yeah.
yeah,
She's
so,
still-
oh, sorry?
Been presented.
Yeah.
Okay, and she's okay with this.
We are still currently waiting for a signed.
We're waiting for
job
her response.
description for a response.
It was given to her.
Okay.
She acknowledged, she knows that it exists and that this is her current job description.
Yes.
All right, we'll take it to a vote. All those yeas, say yay.
Yeah.
Nays. And then are there anybody that's abstaining?
Well, I'm a little nervous about it, so I'm gonna abstain.
Okay, so
Only
we've got
because
one
I,
abstain-
I'm not sure everybody's sort of on board. That makes me nervous. that's
Yes,
all.
ma'am. So one abstaining and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeas.
Jennifer,
Jennifer's a yay.
Yeah.
She's a yay.
And so that motion passes. And then we are gonna move on to the proposal for board strategic planning for 24 through 27.
So, go ahead.
okay, so the board was given in an email, a PDF of the proposal for strategic planning from Dr. Everett Hill and his organization, Social Innovation Strategies Group LLC. And this is someone who, when people on the board and staff a couple of years ago did DEI training, he was one of the people that we came in contact with. And I wanted to share a little bit of what he had told me just about his process. He's worked with as small as a 3-person board to as large as government departments that have hundreds of people, undertaken community-based participatory research and planning projects that required working with thousands of community and organizational members. We're confident we'll be able to tailor our work to your organization's size and needs. The process for us is a guide, not an algorithm, which means that the adjustments made to the process will be a result of our collaborative work, not because it was what the recipe called for. And so he uses the strength, opportunities, aspirations, results, or SOAR model, and he breaks it down in the proposal of all of those pieces and what they will look like for the board. And as it says in the agenda, state library requires an updated strategic plan every 3 years. This one will be due in July, beginning of August. In order to stay current with the state library and receive funding from them. And, the McCune grant that was awarded a year and a half ago, I think, covers this work. This proposal would pay for it. That grant would pay for this proposal. Do you have questions?
Okay, so what is our timeline? Start strategic planning process by conducting a comprehensive assessment. Yeah, do we have like any kind of time frame on this? You said it
Okay.
needs to be completed by July. I guess I'm feeling stressed already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
I have to have it uploaded to the state library by August 12th. So August 11th would be a nightmare for me, but,
For the test.
let's not shoot for the 10th. No, August 1st would be great if you guys could have this done. I should be able to upload everything else and then just wait for this from you all.
And
It's
Dr.
gonna be a heavy lift.
Dr. Hill said we'd be asking for about 10 to 12 hours of the board members' time over the course of 3 to 4 months. Of course, it has to meet the deadline. Upon a signed contract, he would meet with a full board to build a schedule together to meet the demands of the planning process. That way, everyone should have a voice and can actively let us know when they can participate. So we would build the timeline with him upon signing a contract. And he will interface with the directors, and then there's a set amount of hours he would spend with the board.
Backs are up against a wall a little bit. We kind of have to do it. Like, don't have another avenue.
So we're clear that the money's there to pay him. Because we can put that grant toward this,
What do you say?
because I don't see other monies to pay him.
We're gonna have to wait to actually clearly say yes or no on that. So Taya has yet to be able to actually go in and allocate the unrestricted to all the grants. That was this Thursday, or last Thursday was her first Thursday doing that.
So we don't,
So we don't have a clear answer
yeah,
yet.
we really don't know whether we can afford this. or not.
Currently, we know that as it sits right now, it says that there is the McCune money is there, but that could be gone once it gets allocated. away.
Yeah,
If we have expenses that fall under McCune's.
Yeah.
What the grant was written for.
The strategic plan goes through whether Dr. Hill's working with us or not, we still do it.
yeah, I think historically this board has done it themselves
Yeah.
without,
No.
I mean, clearly this is a qualified person, no
Yes.
doubt about that. It's just, the alternative would be to do it ourselves.
Strategic
Save
planning
$10,000.
it does need facilitation, strategic planning, wouldn't you say in your experience?
In my experience, yeah, going through a facilitated strategic planning process, it produces the best outcomes. Otherwise, it's reliant upon the capacity of this body. And I know that we have great executive directors, but as I see it, any of us trying to facilitate that process would take away from the actual outcome of that process. And having a facilitator would, in my opinion, bring out more holistic results. We would all be able to participate instead of running it and processing it. And I also think there's an element of us using a third party to carry a process forward so that none of us could be accused of pushing our own agenda and developing the agendas in the strategic planning process. And I struggle with process-based organizing. I know that process-based organizing is the best way of doing things. It just takes a really long time. But process-based organizing always ensures that we are upholding integrity. in that collective process, so I think it would be best if we did have a facilitated strategic planning process. In my opinion, I could agree with the body if we agree on this. What do you think?
I agree with both, with all the things. I just don't see how we would be doing this on our own. I mean, especially since it's a 3-year plan. It's not just, what are we doing next week? You know, like that would be a very different process, but we're looking for like long-range goals. We're looking for,
Well, and then talking to
know.
Dr. Hill about
Yeah.
his systemic approach to
yeah,
organizations. So his group is gonna study Dixon and the people that live here and try to give us from like the ground up the best advice he can for creating the best organization that we can do. So I was kind of excited to see what he'd actually come up with,
Yeah.
because it's a completely outside point of view. But
We have a meeting coming up with Santa Fe Community Foundation on Tuesday, the 30th, for another grant that we wrote. We've been pushed through to the next round. It is focused on DEI. So if we get that money, if the McCune money isn't there, the Santa Fe Community Foundation money should be there.
Okay.
So, all things point to good things, with that.
Who's your point contact person from the McCune?
McCune, I
Is that
don't
Dave Nezzi?
know.
No.
Right now, the only person sitting on the top of my head is Diane Hamamoto, but she's Santa Fe Community Foundation. And it's because I have a meeting with her on Tuesday, and that's where my brain's at right now.
When you do meet with McCune the next time, and even, what's the other one?
Santa Fe Community Foundation. Santa Fe Community Foundation is the one that we're meeting with on Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
McCune was the old grant that was written for DEI that could cover this. But I'm saying if the financials come back and say, no, McCune was spent on DEI and other materials, and we don't have that McCune money,
And
then
McCune didn't re up with us.
No, they didn't. And if all the McCune money got spent, then I would question if that was, because so far what McCune got used for wasn't the best use of DEI funds. I wouldn't be sure whatever's being allocated to it that fits the DEI frame of the grant.
we'll find out. But my backup suggestion or, point out to the board is that as you're considering this proposal, I'm letting you know that the applied grant for Santa Fe Community Foundation has a possibility of coming through. That was written for DEI work. So there's a potential that the money could be there.
So maybe we need to wait to make a decision until we know we can afford it. 'Cause
Yeah, I mean, I
We
don't
can
want to
afford to
afford it if we don't have the money, but I'm feeling like I can't come to him at the end of May and say, can you still work with us? We
Right.
only have 6 weeks.
I
well,
think
at what point will we find out if we have the money or not?
From Santa Fe Community Foundation
No, from what we already have in our budget.
next Thursday.
Okay, next Thursday.
Well, I also feel like if we approve it, then that sets us a goal
That was gonna
Yeah.
say,
and we know
but
what we need to
We can-
fundraise
we can
for.
also
yeah,
fundraise,
fundraise.
So if we say, yeah, we're committing to doing a strategic planning process, which part of our job, right? Then we say, okay, we're approving it, we're making that commitment, now we raise it, now we fundraise for it, now we have a mark to make. By not committing to do a strategic planning process, sets ourselves up for failure, especially with the library board, the state, and those spaces that require that of us for our greater funding capacities.
And
Okay.
correct me if I'm wrong, Rebecca, he's not wanting the whole 10 grand up front, right?
No, he would be fine with like installments.
Installment, so.
Mhm.
your
So we have
fundraising
time to
helps.
fundraising, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't hear what you said.
he doesn't need to expect the whole 10,000 in one payment. He would be fine with installments.
Mhm.
So it's not a large fundraising goal if you have to hit the fundraising goal.
You wanna vote on this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is just the proposal though, right? So in his final contract, he would outline those deposits, right? you would have this more clearly outlined on June 1st. I'd want 50% on such and such.
Yeah, and he
Okay.
sounds flexible, like if the, the directors and he could be in touch and decide how they want to lay out like the installments, the time frame for it, and that would go down in the contract.
Okay, and then in the first bullet, it says we will utilize various tools and methodologies to gather relevant data and insights. Who's he gonna be getting the information from? Our bookkeeper? Data that potentially is being reviewed? How does that work?
So I'm seeing here, this involves identifying and analyzing the internal factors that contribute to the library's success, such as staff, extension, collection, innovative programs, and strong community relationships. So I imagine there would be a process that would gather the information from those spaces. Is that right? Does that sound right?
Yeah, because he could definitely gather data about, just like Maggie was requesting data about our children's programming or any of that. That's all public information. That's all data that we would be able to put out and gather for them. Our collection, of course, is another thing that we would be able to gather quite easily.
So he
and the
would have-
information on programming for
He
sure.
would do like interviews with all the staff and then they would do an analysis of the whole organization as it currently stands.
Absolutely. I think that's what it sounds like.
I need clarity on that. I don't know. What
So I know
about the bookkeeper? I mean, so
I would
again,
imagine all staff members, everybody, nobody,
yeah, I would ask for clarity on that, please.
everybody. I would put him on that. I mean, that would be, knowing Dr. Hill and knowing that he's really focused on inclusion, I wouldn't imagine that he would skip a single staff member or volunteer for that matter. Because they are part of the organization, whether they're paid or unpaid. Labor's labor here.
So Jennifer, to speak to that, I did ask him some questions in the past. So one of the things when I just said, who will be your point of contact? He said, we'll primarily work with whomever you all designate that you want to be primarily point of contact. That said, the co-directors, Rosalie and Annette, considering their roles, we would certainly want them to be a substantive part of this process, regular check-ins and collaboration with the points of contact, but also periodically with staff. And then he put in parentheses, part-time bookkeeper and maintenance employee will also be essential to ensure a holistic approach. And so he did list those. He didn't list Jenny because I don't think she was part of this when he was answering that question. So yes, he is saying he would have contact with the staff. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, this just seems very vague, proposal. I don't know. I would add the point of contact. I would add the deposit amounts, the financial. Yeah, just be more specific. That's all I would ask.
Yeah, and he did send two much more specific proposals that cost more. But we had to scale it down and say, hey, can you just focus on the strategic planning? Because that's basically all that I thought we could afford and that we have to do. And so he did reach the point where he was like, that each of these proposals take me like 6 or 8 hours, right? Like, so if I keep having to generate these for you, like it needs, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this strategic planning one. I mean, that might not be the best answer, but that is kind of where I arrived with him because I've been in touch with him since October, I think.
So here's my thought. I think that I have a lot of confidence in Rebecca and Tony. At the end of the day, it's gonna be you all who meets with this person and signs that contract. So, I wanna make the motion to approve that process. Y'all have that final gathering with him and you have my confidence in that decision to sign and move forward. That's my motion.
I second.
All right, I'll take it to a vote.
I didn't hear it.
It's okay. My motion is to approve Tony and Rebecca having a final meeting for clarity and have the approval of our body for them to sign a contract with this provider.
I'm a little nervous about the money myself.
This will come after we confirm whether or not.
Yeah,
the
we
money
wouldn't do
Oh,
it.
it's
It's not
okay.
gonna
So as
squared
long
away.
as we still have an opportunity.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a second?
I second it already.
All right, we'll look at the yeas. Yay. Any nays? Any abstaining? And so that motion goes ahead and passes.
Would be an abstain.
Abstain? So we have one abstain. And that brings us
So,
to,
before we jump into the next motion or the next item on the agenda, I just wanted to, make a communication to this body. I'm going to resign from this board. I don't know if I have to do it in writing or if it's okay to do it in person. There's several reasons why, aside from all of the obvious like flack that we're getting and how that's impacted my life and my day-to-day. I have a full-time job. I'm a single father. I'm building a homestead. I just don't have the capacity. I think we have a pretty strong board as it stands, and y'all don't have, we don't have a lot of support from folks sitting on that side. And I want to sit on that side and be a supportive member of the community and continue to work from that angle. Not apologizing that I'm resigning, but apologizing that I can't spend space in this circle with you all anymore. It's not personally against me. I think you guys are great, and I look up to you all. I really am thankful for the experience that I've had with you all, trying to hold integrity within this organization and trying to bring back voice to the community that has continued to be forgotten about and left off the table, which we now represent. And just, extend my hands and my arms out to you all to let you know that like I am here in complete support, especially our directors, who I believe really strongly in. Not, in this time I've built friendships with you all. I wasn't your friend prior to this, and now, we're really good friends, and I believe in the direction that you all are taking this organization. And yeah, how I can support, I'm always here to support in that way. Maybe I can be more effective as a non-board member in helping to push forward this organization in a direction that is more inclusive and more equitable, more diverse, and more justice-based. And yeah, I love you all. I do have a replacement. My daughter said she would be the new board member.
I got you.
Yeah, and it's sad because I always want to show up for you all. But I think that for my own mental health and the flack that I've taken from specific individual community members, the gossip is created an impact in my own family. My parents, my aunts, my uncles. And yeah, it's just not worth it for me to as a person just showing up with my heart and wanting to bring my skills to my community, to the impact that this very little small fraction of our community, the negative impact that that's had on my life is too much for me to continue in this present moment. I think that maybe once things settle a little bit and that small little microscopic part of this community that has the largest voice for some reason, especially online, once they start to see that, hey, like, yeah, we're brown, but we ain't bad, yeah, we're, not affluent, but we still have a heart, right? Then maybe I could step back in and provide some of this leadership capacity, creative capacity that I built over the last 20 years of my career. And also being from this community, I think I can, look down the road to helping to take it to the next level at that point. So with all your permission, and with all my love and respect, I do plan to resign. If I have to do it in writing, I'll submit that. If not, then we can take this as my formal loving, respectful resignation from this body, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna respectfully say no.
Yeah.
Sorry. You asked permission.
I'm sorry.
Thank you for the time that you have put into it. I really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
We appreciate you.
I know it's been hard, for everybody that's been on the board since July when I came on. And it's a little bit disheartening because that's the fourth or fifth resignation in just a few months.
Makes me sad because it's the system winning, right? Like doing systems change work is really, really hard. And when the system is set up to continually beat you down and make you feel like you're not worthy and that your voice doesn't matter, it's the system winning. So for me, that's tough when the system actually gets to win, when you're trying to do systems change work. But I 100% respect and love that you know that your capacity is there. That's a really admirable thing for each of us as Brown board members sitting on this body to actually sit back and see how much of the capacity that we're willing to deal with too. And the capacity that, how much are we willing to be the punching bag is the other word, right? By people who are 100% determined to misunderstand you. No matter what we say, they're gonna be determined to misunderstand you. So I'm really sorry that the system won on this one, but systems change is hard work. And when you are ready to jump back in, this systems change work will be ready for you to come back in with your full heart, your full corazón. Whoever sits in this seat or any of these seats, systems change work is rooted here. So you'll have a home here.
And we'll welcome you to Open Arms.
That's right.
I will say that though it's been really hard, it's also, I feel like a strategic process for me. We do have a lot of supporters and a lot of our supporters don't voice themselves because they choose to support in silence. But our body, this body needs a very vocal, rowdy, out up front person saying yes to this. And that's me and Corina.
Yeah.
And that's the strategy that I want to take. I want to be sitting there next to Tommy, next to Nancy, saying yes, yes, and thank you, and thank you, and thank you, and thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for all your hard work. We don't hear that enough, and it's a shame, but I won't let you down on that part, and I'll make sure you hear it every single time. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then that brings us to community input. Now that you're a community member, do you want to have another statement?
It's on the paper.
What's your take on this? Do we have anybody signed up? And then, do we have anybody online that wants to comment as well?
They're online.
Oh, Nancy?
And Nancy,
Okay.
and anybody online wanting to do public comment? No one online.
Were they able, oh, no one's online
No,
or
no, people are online.
Oh, okay.
Nobody online is saying anything.
were they able to hear everything? I'm just curious.
Was everybody able to, yep, thumbs are up. Thumbs are up, much
Okay,
better, much
good.
happier.
I heard you loud and clear, loud and clear.
Okay, circular meeting from now on.
All right.
Here comes the circle.
Yeah, would you like to go first?
I would, but I suppose I need to be closer to the microphone.
Oh, yeah. Right here. Did I start the timer? Well, I think we will start whenever you.
So I wasn't really sure what I was going to say. I just signed up for public comment because I always have something to say. And I just wanted to say that I guess I'll just talk about my job descriptions since I was here and nobody asked me for input.
That
last-
job description
Job
is
description.
for your supervisors.
Supervisors.
That's not a community input. That's to talk to your supervisors.
Because there's differentiation between coming as a community member and speaking as a community member about the library in general. And then if you have internal work-related, like you were given your job description a week ago or 2 weeks ago or something. And if you had to talk to, if you have problems with it, if you have comments on it, that's something that you should go through your supervisors to talk through. Because they're.
But it was brought to the board for approval.
It's for you to talk to your supervisors.
That's how.
But you approved it. You made a motion and
Have you had a
approved it at the
conversation
board.
about your job description with your supervisor?
No, but you've also amended it at this meeting, so.
It hasn't been amended up there. To anything that we've given to you, it hasn't been amended,
Well, besides the two things that were up on.
but she hasn't been given the amended. So either way, she provided the old one and that's as it goes. If there's any comments, there would be comments regarding that and it still needs to come to us. You need to come to us. That was told to you in your letter. Anything that you need to provide is written in writing to us. If you have anything, please provide it in writing. That was given to you.
So there's like, from a managerial point of view, there's.
I understand what you're
in-
saying. I just disagree
internal-
with it. If it were internal, then it would have stayed internal, but you've brought it up at the board meeting.
All right. Do you have any community-wide input?
I started your time over if you want to.
Yeah, I stopped it at the time you guys.
Janzi?
That one comment that it's come up at several meetings that the community wants something. And like the community wants an audit. I don't know how many people have asked for an audit. Like 10. So it just feels funny that it's the community instead of, we have several community
You know what? I
members.
find your air quotes offensive. I just want to say.
I'm sorry, what?
I find the air quotes offensive. I apologize.
So
Well,
it's,
I didn't mean it offensive.
Well, that's how I found it.
so let's,
Can I?
there's a,
You guys are gonna time it to 3 minutes?
I press pause. I
Sorry.
press pause.
I apologize.
yeah, and I just want to say to the board members in the community time, let's give them a chance to talk.
So all I'm asking is, that feels like it feels like a generic term, and it would be nicer if it was several community members, 20 community members, whatever it is, because it just feels like all of us want something. And I don't know that that's true when it's worded that way. I find it offensive. Not offensive, just I don't, it's not straightforward.
Blanket term, yeah.
It's not straightforward to me.
That makes sense.
So that's all. Yeah, the other question I'll ask the director specifically.
I didn't sign up for the sheet, no, but I thought, thanks for the insight on, I've learned a lot, what's going on inside and on the problem issue for the back, for the library, I guess, I'm nominated, just get rid of, burrito night, burrito days. Without.
I'll second that. Thank you. Tom.
All right, and with that, would you guys like to adjourn?
Anybody online wanting to give some public comment?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Oh my gosh.
I need to give you.
Yeah, sorry.